All right, good evening. We're live on the air. Welcome to the Sweet Talk. Today is Monday, December 17th, 2018. My name is Kimitina. I'm the host of your show. I'm a Google certified trainer. Tonight I have Mr. Ross Berman on. He is a middle school teacher that teaches computer science and math in Queens, New York. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So what basically Ross is going to talk about how he uses blended learning. So blended learning is a mix of using different types or techniques of I don't know, of work in your class. You don't always have to use technology. You can use a mix of it. So you can use technology, you could use paper, manual ways. So it's a mix of a little bit of everything. So Ross is going to talk about blended learning in his classroom, and he's going to go over what tools he uses. So G Suite or Google for Education apps that he uses in his math class to help his students succeed in his class. And we're just going to learn and discuss what he does, because I know a lot of math teachers that I have experience with in the middle school, they tend to shy away from the technology because they feel that it's too much work. It's more of a I don't know, it's more of a hassle to create a quiz using equations, like digital equations, in a Google form. And I tend to disagree with them, but I'm not a math teacher. So, I don't, I could understand their perspective, but I'm so tech strong that I try to push tech in any which way I can see it. So, my solution or my suggestion to the math teachers is create your quiz in Google Forms. And I had told them to use the extension Equato. I don't know if you ever heard of that. They would
Yep.
they would create their mathematical equations using that, paste them into the Google form, and then their question in the Google form would be like a multiple choice. So still the students really aren't showing their work on the form, but they are showing their work on the paper to get to the answer. Is that acceptable? Yes, I think so. How do you capture their work? I told them to take a picture of their work. So the students would have to take a picture with their mobile device, either an iPad or their BYOD device, upload their work into Google Classroom. I don't really have that many other workflows to offer student or teachers other than an example of what I just said. So I'm curious to hear how you use the blended learning as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting because when we first started using G Suite in my school, I was using it as a math teacher. So as I learned and as I shared, everyone viewed it from the lens of a math teacher. So it's actually kind of interesting at my school, we've gotten to a point where teachers say, oh, well, I see how you could use this in the math class, but I don't see how you could do it in ELA class or social studies class, which is really ironic because in most schools, people say, oh, I don't see how you could use this in a math class. So it's always funny to me to hear how that works out. And I think like you were describing, I think teachers a lot of times think like, you have to use the tech, you have to use the tech, you have to use the tech. And I think thinking about the way it's working is what matters. So, like what's important when you give students a test? The thing that's important is instant feedback. That would be something that's important. So is it important that the equation is in the Google form on the screen? I would say no, that's not what's important. That just put the equation on paper, and then maybe I've created a blank Google form where it's just question 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they fill it out like it's a Scantron. So there's, a basic way of, saying, well, the students are still getting their instant feedback, but I, as the math teacher, it's not, inhibiting me. It's not making it life harder for me to type it on the computer. It's still on
So,
paper, but then the
so
students get that
go,
instant feedback.
so go back to what you just said. So you said have a Google form with 5 blank questions, and that
Yep.
would be
So
the feedback for the 5 questions of the quiz.
exactly. So like the math equation itself does not need to be in the Google form. What I did was I would just create a blank question and label it number one. And then the students would put their answer for number one from the paper in the form. So it'd just be like a Scantron sheet where the students are putting their answers in the form, even though the questions aren't there.
So how are the students entering in their answers? So just say you have, square root, sine, exponents, and all that. Do you go over that syntax with the students prior to? Like, how do you, like, what's your workflow? Because that's actually a really good idea. That's like a reverse way of thinking, you know?
Right. In terms of like the mathematical symbols, if something like that comes up, I'll show the students like how I want them to write it. Um, I know they have the extensions like equate.io and all those other things. I've tried some of them. I think still it has similar problems of syntax errors. A student is always gonna kind of have a syntax error. So I have done questions like that. If there's a question where you have to put in a specific math symbol, maybe I'll just make it a multiple choice question. I personally don't have a problem with multiple choice questions, so I'll put it in. Um, you know, there's all different ways of doing it. I've done things in terms of assessments. I'm really interested in um, doing different types of things. So, for example, I've had students record their voices explaining an answer. So I've had them record it and put it into a Google form. I've asked questions. I've created screencasts, and the kids watched videos and then had to answer a question about the video. Or, I think you said I've had kids take pictures of their work and post it. So I think instead of, I think a lot of math teachers say, well, you can't do math on the computer, so I'm not going to do it. And I think it's important to, instead of saying that, say, how can I do math on the computer? And there's all these different ways of coming up with it. Like if you can't write square root, well, I have the kids record their voice saying, my answer is the square root of 3. That's another way of doing it. So
Yeah,
I think there's a lot of workarounds.
yeah, definitely. I agree. I think a lot of people use it as an excuse to not use tech because they teach math. But your suggestion of recording it, like just using an audio recorder, online audio recorder, or Screencastify, or Vocaroo, or even Flipgrid, just to explain
Those are
the
all the resources I've used. You hit all
yeah.
of them.
I mean, it's just like there's a lot of options out there. You just have to try to think of the tools that will best fit in with what you're doing. And using the audio, to me, I think you just nailed it. Because you're making the kids explain the answer, and they're actually saying it the correct way, I guess. Like,
Mhm.
so if they can say it the correct way, maybe that makes a connection for them to comprehend, and then they can put it down on paper. It might be just another type of process for them to grab that concept. I don't know, but I think for me, you just hit it with the um, with the audio.
Absolutely. And it organizes it in a way that makes it easier for the teacher. That's something you can't do without technology. So
Right. And yeah, exactly.
instead of using it as an excuse, suddenly you're doing something that you couldn't have done before.
Yeah, exactly. And but you have to get a teacher that's willing to change and to try something new. Because I know many teachers, and it's just not, math teachers. There's a lot of teachers that just use the same resources year after
Mhm.
year after year. And math may be one of a perfect example of that, because really math content doesn't change. So you have to find someone who's willing to take a risk, who's willing to take, the learning curve. And I try to tell the teachers, as a tech teacher, if you invest time into something up front, the rewards will be that much more so at the end. You'll get your time back later on. But yeah, I agree. I think you hit the nail on the monkey there with that. I think you just really the blended learning, the audio, the screencasting, even like you said, your Google form, having the feedback for each question, having a blank question and having you give the kids feedback. I think that's all. It's all blended learning, really, and it's all great techniques to incorporate math into it.
Yeah, and I think teachers, I think, tend to think like, oh, well, technology needs to do all this big, amazing things. And in reality, something as simple as recording your voice is so powerful. Something as simple as using a phone to take a picture of things can be so powerful, and it could change a lesson. It could change the way a student learns. And that's, some things don't have a steep learning curve and they could still make a huge impact.
Yeah, I agree,
Other,
definitely.
other things, may have a steep learning curve and not make as big of an impact. But I think getting teachers to understand, like you said, to take that risk, it will be rewarding. It will save you time. It will help you in the end. And I just, try it.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, I've always used Screencastify for my tutorials with teachers and students, but I've started in the past, I don't know, year and a half. I started creating playlists for my students so that they can. So I'll record. I'll do a Screencastify and I'll record how to share their project in Google Classroom, or how to um, download their microbit program and upload it into Google Classroom.
Do
You
you teach the
know,
microbit?
yeah, I started teaching the microbit. So, with that, I'm only one person. So I created a playlist and I screencastified a few of the workflows that the students needed, and
I would love
it
to see
gives
that.
them.
I just started teaching with the microbit.
Okay, I'll share it with you.
Oh,
But
thank you.
it gives them the ability to do self-pace. Like they can rewind, they can pause it, they can toggle in between. So it's the same for math, like for any subject. The kids, you give them the tools and they're going to learn at their own pace. And using the audio and the Screencastify tools is just one resource for them to understand the math concept.
Absolutely. I think, if you think about a math teacher standing in front of the room solving a math problem, I say there's always going to be someone who doesn't understand it. There's always going to be someone who gets it in the end. And there's always going to be someone who already knows it. That's just, that's reality. So when a teacher's standing in front of the room, you're always going to have groups of students either not engaged or, something going on because they either already know it, they're never going to know it, or, some will get it in the end. And how do you solve that problem? And I think, like you're saying, the self-paced, the videos is a perfect way of solving it, because if someone already knows how to do it, then you don't need to watch. You could fast forward. You don't need to watch it all, whatever it may be. The students who really struggle getting it could watch the video 2, 3, 4 times if they want to. And the other
Right,
ones could just watch it at the regular pace.
right.
And I think that kind of solves that problem of, if I'm just a math teacher standing in front of the room solving a problem, there's always going to be people not engaged for whatever reason.
Exactly. I couldn't agree with you more. Now, I work with you in the Jamboard forum. So we help support users in the Jamboard forum. So people that have questions or issues or whatnot, Ross and I are one of the people that try to help you out online. And I know Ross is a big proponent of using Jamboard. I know you got a new Jamboard in your
Yes.
school. And so I'm curious to see or hear how you like it. First of all, I know you like it, but tell the audience a little bit about how you use it in your class with math, and with your students, and how your students interact with it.
So Jamboard, when the app first came out, it's basically an interactive whiteboard app with all the different googly features of collaboration and some AI features and all different cool things. When this came out, to me, like we're discussing, you always hear math teachers say, well, how do you do math on the computer? And, my class has touchscreen Chromebooks, And the Jamboard app essentially allows them to show their math work on the computer. So that to me was the missing piece. I run my entire classroom through Google Classroom. Um, and again, we had to come up with all these workarounds of how do you show math in it. And again, not hard, came up with all these solutions from pictures, videos, recording voice, all these things. But Jamboard allows them to literally just write on it and submit it through Google Classroom. So what I've done is I've handed out problems to students on Jamboard. They're able to write their answers directly on it. They have sticky notes that they could type a sentence explaining their work and all different sorts of things like that. They could submit it right to me through Google Classroom, and I could use the cool new feedback feature in Google Classroom to send them feedback on their work. So that's kind of a cool way we've been using it. We just got the actual Jamboard maybe 2 weeks ago, which again, it's pretty cool to see the students were able to use it right away because they've used the app before, so they know all of those different things. My goal is to use the Jamboard as a student device. That's kind of my theory that I'm going with when I got it. So I've almost not used the Jamboard myself at all. Students use it to collaborate, to work together to solve problems. If some students are struggling, they'll go to the Jamboard and they'll work it out themselves. If I want to give them like a higher level task, students will go to the Jamboard and they'll work on tasks like that. So it's been really cool to say, like, this is a student device. It's all on them. They know how to use it. They use it to help them. It connects directly to their Google Drive. So anything they write right on there, it saves to their Google Drive, and then they can then post it to Google Classroom, share it, whatever it may be.
So one thing that, because we're getting one also, so I'm excited about that. And
Very nice.
I'm getting 20 new iPads, and they're in the process of downloading the apps that I want on them. So I'll be all set hopefully in January with
Very
the
exciting.
Jamboard, right? So I was talking to one of my math teachers about it, and he actually came to one of my sessions that I had during our in-house, in-service PD day, and he wants to use it. However, and he brings up a good point. He says to me, he says, but if I write a math problem on the first, frame, because each page in the Jam is called a frame. How do I know like who's revising it? Like there's no edit history. Like in Google Docs, you have revision history. There's no revision history in Jamboard. So my answer to him was you assign one frame to a student and you label that frame with their name and you have them work on it. So did you like experience any students like, misusing the the app? Because that's
So
what his fear is. He fears that these students are gonna, start writing inappropriate content in the Jam, and you're not gonna know who wrote it, and that's kind of what he's concerned about.
So in terms of like the math work like that, what's really cool is the Jamboard files are almost totally treated like a Google Drive file now. And what makes that cool is you can assign it in Google Classroom. So what I do is I create the Jam file and I assign it in Google Classroom and I make a copy for each student.
Okay, you make a
So
copy. Okay.
yeah, so each student has their own copy, and in terms of answering math problems, it's their own copy that they're answering it on. And then through Google Classroom, I could give them that individualized feedback. So it's not
Okay.
necessarily a shared Jamboard because it's now a Google Drive file. You could assign it through Google Classroom and go through that Google Classroom workflow within the Jam file.
Okay. Yeah, because we were doing it as a shared Jam. So
Right.
I would have like 20 people in my session and all 20 people were on the one Jam. So that's why he had, asked that question. So do you differentiate your math equations and hand them out specifically to different students as personalized posts in Google Classroom then as well?
Yep. So essentially, when I do my lessons, I create them in Google Slides. and I share it with every student in Google Classroom, and then they use it as if it's like a notebook. So
Okay.
they take their own notes, they answer their own questions in Google Slides. As Jamboard becomes more feature rich and improves, I feel like I'll probably transfer my lessons to Jamboard and hand it out to each student, and they'll treat that as if it's like a notebook because essentially they have the touch screens, they have the files, they'll be able to write right over it, they'll be able to hand it back to me, I'll be able to see everything they do, and it creates that paperless environment while allowing to give that instant feedback type thing.
So your Google Slides notebook file, what, like, is that part of your, I know that's part of your lesson, but what is that, I guess, like, does that have like a PDF, copies of like PDF equations in there, or is it more like references to formulas and references to different links to different
So
websites?
all of the above. So
Uh,
it basically is my lesson plan and I share it with the students. So I have my standard learning objective, homework, all of that stuff. Um, Most things, so like I'll have a check for understanding will be a link to a Google form. I'll have videos I embed right in there. And then most of the questions, what I'll do is I'll find like a PDF or something like that, and I'll take a screenshot of it and I'll put the picture in the Google Slide file. Then what happens when the students solve it, they can do it in any of the ways we've discussed. Or most of them, what they do is they'll write in their notebooks and then take a picture with it. In Google Slides has the great insert photo feature where they can just hold up their notebook and it'll take a picture of their work and put it right in there.
okay. That's I like that. I like that option. That's really good. I'm gonna have to steal that one.
That's
I
my it's my
I
go-to right there.
Yeah, I like that because that well, because we are like every student has their own Chromebook, but we don't have Android app enabled Chromebooks. So I'm trying to push that in. Hopefully, I just started at my new school, and so I'm hopefully push that in like maybe within the next few years. But I do like that workflow a lot. Do you have a template that you can share?
Um, yeah, I mean, I can. I try a lot of different things. So, you know, everyone always says like, you want to have structure, you want to have structure, and I always say my structure is that there is no structure. I'm always trying different things. But yeah, I could definitely share some of the things I have.
Just, I mean, even if you have like a template of your Google Slide lesson, and then like I can kind of share that with, maybe if you don't mind, like
Not
share
at
it
all.
with the teachers at my school, because
Absolutely.
math it's hard, and you have to get through that wall and say, hey, you can incorporate tech in your math class. But I really like all the different ways and all different levels and all different, apps that you're using. You're giving the kids a lot of variety, which is important.
I think I saw Google just tweeted that they now partner with Book Creator.
Yeah, I
They
saw that.
integrated with that. So I'm the one that I jumped to. Great, how can I do this in math class? And Book Creator looks really cool with all of the things we said. Like you can insert pictures, record your voice, and do all these things right in there. And I laughed because I said, I can't wait till I go to the math department and I say, I want you guys to use the Book Creator app. I
They're
can't
gonna
wait to
look
hear.
like, yeah, they're gonna look like, what? But you could probably take your Google Slides and put them in Book Creator somehow or another. And then, because you said Book Creator does all of that, incorporates pictures and videos and links and stuff. So you could probably just move that all in there if you wanted to,
That's true.
you
That's
know?
true.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I know I can't keep up with all the updates. It's crazy.
it, it really is, but I'm definitely going to try that Book Creator one. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. I think you'll actually end up creating your own techie workflow, and you'll end up eliminating something else.
I
That's what
mean, that's how it works.
that's how it works. You gotta move with the times.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that you were able to share some of your blended learning techniques in your math class, and you know, I think that it was helpful, and I think that you have to have a teacher willing to do this, and it's our job to try to support them and convince them and to help them make that hurdle or jump that hurdle so that they can try all these cool techniques because yeah, the kids need to know the content, but they also need to know the technology and have
Absolutely.
different variety of tools because when they get into the real world and they don't have that skill level, they're going to be lost.
The,
So
the the thing I've been talking to the kids about lately is, everything is Google, of course. So we were talking about googliness, and we were talking about how the kids think, well, you just go to school and you get good grades. That's what you do. And I said to them, well, everyone goes to good school and wants to get good grades. I said, what makes you unique? What makes you different? And I think the kids don't think that way. And if you can use these tools that other people can't use, then you're, might be a better candidate for a job than someone who just gets good grades.
exactly, exactly. And I don't think like I know you're in middle school and I'm in a middle school too, but I don't think the kids realize that yet. Not until
Absolutely.
they get
Definitely
a
not.
little more mature. But if you don't present the students with this type of technology, um, whether it's blended learning or if it's flipped classroom or anything, in my opinion, you're really doing a disservice to them because you're not equipping them with the computing skills and the life skills that they need to be successful later on in life. It just makes their life a little bit harder. That's all. But if you can make a change and be a difference on just one student a day or a week or whatever, then for me, I feel like my job was well done. You know what I mean? That's all you
Absolutely.
can do. So you
Absolutely.
just pushing, 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 pushing. People might not
Yeah.
like it, but you got to keep
Hey,
pushing.
do what you got to do.
Do what you got to do. Exactly. All right. So, what I'm going to do really quick before I let you go is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show people how they can be a guest on my show. Oops,
Sure.
that is the agenda. So, if you go to my website, I don't have it. I don't have it bookmarked. I usually have everything bookmarked. If you Google the Sweet Talk, it'll come up, or you can go to bit.ly/the Sweet Talk website. And you can check out all of the past episodes by clicking on the episode tab. And in here, you can see a list of all the episodes with the YouTube link and the show notes. And if you want to listen to it on a podcast, my podcast is on Podbean and on Google Play Music. If you want to be a guest on my show, please click on the guest tab and fill out this form here, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I just want to try to learn from others and help other people as well. That's kind of my mission doing my Sweet Talk show. So here's my card. So here's my card. The subscribe to my YouTube channel at bit.ly, the Sweet Talk channel. My website's here as well, and you can always email me at sweettalkshow@gmail.com. And that is our show for tonight. Let me go back. So here I am. So, Ross, I will send you those links to the microbit videos that I created.
Very
And
nice.
if you want, I can share my activity board with you as well that I
I would
did.
love that.
Yeah, I'll
Next
send it all your way. No problem.
next time
Um,
next time we could talk the microbit.
you know what? If you want, we can. Just let me know when. When are you going to teach it?
I'm teaching it the whole year.
Oh, are you in your computer science class?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have you back on because um, I'm actually I was teaching the microbit to seventh grade in their STEM class.
Hmm.
Um, so the rotation is weird, but it probably took me about 2 months to get through what I needed to get through, and I'm going to revisit them back in January, between January and February,
Very
to
cool.
continue where we left off. So I like to see, what you've done, and get some
We
ideas.
have
We can
we
collaborate
have a
together.
big project right at the end of January. They should be done, so that would be pretty cool to share.
All right, cool. Maybe we'll connect back in February on the microbit.
Sounds
February,
good.
February, maybe the end of February, beginning of March, because I just started teaching microbit this year, so I learned about it last year. This year, I'm teaching it, and I'm really a newbie. Um, so I see a lot of cool things on Twitter that people are doing, and I'm getting ideas that I want to, incorporate into this STEM period for the seventh grade students. So yeah, I'd love to collaborate with you on that. I think it would be a great show.
Very cool. Very
All
nice.
right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thanks for being on. Happy holidays,
You
and
too.
till then, I will talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.